start off.
Yeah, Menu RX is great. I'm talking to Dr. Jake tomorrow to go over a few things. I'm starting a new nutrition plan and diet plan for myself tomorrow. I'm going to once again try to make another leap. And the only reason I have a shot is because of the advice and the one-on-one counseling I get from Dr. Jake May, who's been supported me even when I've been, not doing the work that I need to do. But at Menu RX, it's not just about weight loss. It's about nutrition. It's about learning what food fuels your body better. It's about getting in better shape, being stronger, being more physically fit. At menu-rx.com, you're working with professionals, not clowns on the internet, scientists, doctors, nutritionists who know how to help and understand that there's no one size fits all when it comes to nutrition. Everybody's body works differently. How do you know what works best for you? Metabolic testing. They do it. And your health insurance will likely cover it. Dr. Jake was recently in Ohio. He's from here originally, grew up here. And he was, working with trainers and medical insurance companies to make sure that as many as possible cover the programs they do at Menu RX, and most of them do. You can use HSA and FSA spending accounts as well. And if you sign up right now at menu-rx.com with any of their programs, you get a 1-year membership to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, absolutely free. That's a $60 value for nothing. It's menu-rx.com.
Thank you for that, Bo. Let's dive into our first topic today. And this was something I was pondering over the weekend.
Oh boy.
The Browns, at least since 99 and on,
haven't
really developed to the full extent a young quarterback. You could say they did a little bit with Baker Mayfield before he left. And now they have 2 young quarterbacks, really 3 if you want to count Kenny Pickett in that equation, but 2 young quarterbacks to focus on this discussion with in Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. With how much that goes into developing a young quarterback, you talk about all the stuff from an organization, from the front office to the coaching staff to the trainers, nutrition, learning the playbook, all that goes into it. And Davis and G, maybe you guys can speak on what you saw in terms of developing quarterbacks. Is there enough time to go around from a coaching staff to be able to develop 2 young guys at the same time, knowing how much it takes just to do one? Is there enough time for Stefanski and the staff to develop 2 simultaneously?
I would say no, because reps is the only way you're going to get better. And if you're not taking reps with the ones or you're not taking those meaningful reps, how can you get better? These are 2 guys that's coming into different systems, and they're all trying to figure the thing out. And I just feel like once crunch time comes around, especially when we get closer towards the season, those 1 reps are very important. And there could only be, this ain't like safety or corner where you got 2 guys going at once. There's only 1 quarterback going at a time. And I just feel like it's hard to continue to develop 2 guys that are on the same page, when it comes to trying to figure this thing out. So I think it's doing them a huge disservice. I understand why you need to do it in case of emergency. Obviously, there's been multiple examples of teams taking 2 quarterbacks and, 1 quarterback gets hurt, the other one comes in and he has a successful year. I think the last one I can think of off the top of the head was last year, Drake May and Joe Mixon. Or Joe Milton, excuse me.
Well, he didn't play the last game.
Yeah, but they developed them simultaneously. Yeah. Or RG3 and Kirk Cousins. Like, they drafted them the same year, they developed them the same way, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you got to pick one and roll with it, and the other one just going to have to figure it out as it goes on. Like I said, you can't – the other one just got to get better off of mental reps. The one that you actually have faith in has to take those first 10 reps, and it's just not enough time and not enough reps in a day to give them both the same amount to make them both equally ready.
But let me just check in with something you said, because you said they can't get better unless they're doing reps with the ones. I just don't get that.
Not with the ones, but like if you want this guy to, I just find it very hard.
Yeah.
That I'm going to take reps with the 2s and the 3s, and then you're going to tell me to go in there and play with the ones and think that it's just going to be perfect.
So you're more saying you can't get ready to play in the NFL without getting reps at the one. You can still get better.
Yeah, you get better for sure,
but not as good as you need to be.
You're not game ready if you've only taken reps with
I just
the 2s.
wanted to clarify
There's no
that.
way.
I got you.
You're going to have me go out and practice, and who's to say the Browns 2s is good? Okay, I'm making a bunch of plays with the 2s.
Yeah.
If I go up against the ones, I can't do nothing.
Right, so you can get better.
Yeah.
You just can't get.
You can see things clearer and
right.
understand defense is better, but
So
the
if you're-
speed of the game from twos to one is a huge
So if you're
difference.
here and you need to get to here, you can go up a little, but it's just
never-
so high
you-
you can get
exactly.
until you play with the ones.
Yes.
That makes sense. Okay.
I was at home and I was just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And y'all see if y'all vibe with me on this. This whole thing, this whole competition or whatever they're doing, first and foremost,
It ain't no competition.
let's be clear.
They know who they want.
Let's be clear. Kevin Stefanski ain't developed nobody. I want to just put let's get this on paper. Kevin Stefanski somehow now has gotten this thing where he could draft 2 quarterbacks, play around with them, don't play around with them, put them in, don't put them in. But we got 2 first-round picks next year, and we could get another quarterback. Well, first of all, I don't know if I trust your evaluation in quarterbacks.
That's a fact.
Baker Mayfield is playing the best football he's ever played, not under you. Deshaun Watson, you were on record saying that you wanted Deshaun Watson. He was not good. You now have 2 quarterbacks that you took in the 3rd and the 5th round. Are you going to tell me you're just going to play old veterans and waste those picks too? Because there's 3rd-round guys that we could have got receivers, running backs, guys that could help your team. You got a 5th-round pick in Shedeur Sanders, and right now we just looking around, and it seems like you're trying to make him earn reps. Listen, this is not elementary school. This is not try to make somebody humble or figure out whether or not we're going to make you earn. Listen, that sounds great. When you get drafted, it's about who can play. At that point in time, it ain't about 5th and 3rd. It's like, let me see who can play, put them on the field, and get it ready to go. So if you're telling me that you can't figure it out with these guys, why do I have faith that next year I'm going to give you another year to play around with to get another quarterback?
Yeah.
And you haven't developed these 2 or have made a good evaluation on the ones you previously had.
And that's the coach, the GM,
Both
the
of them.
ownership, everybody. Because they've drafted poorly. They haven't, you're right. No quarterback has played their best football under Kevin Stefanski. And yes, I don't, if they can't do anything with these 2 guys, well, and then you draft on a quarterback next year, well, why'd you draft 2 quarterbacks if you're not going to give them any opportunity?
Like, it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing and you're just
right.
playing around.
Especially Dillon Gabriel, because you drafted him in the 3rd round. The 5th round, the Shedeur Sanders is a weird, obviously an unusual
anomaly.
circumstance. But usually guys in the 5th round, they're long shots to be good players. Dillon Gabriel was picked in the top 100 picks. Like that's a valuable pick.
Yeah. It's a
if you're not
valuable pick.
If he's not going to get a real shot, and then you're going to move on next year, well, why the hell did you draft him?
It's
not like you're loaded with talent on this team.
That's why I get to a point where, and it's like, oh yeah, we can afford, like, our track record is good enough we can afford to play around this year. No, you can't play around. Like, this isn't house money. I don't understand how you get 3-14 and this is house money because we traded and we got some picks. No. And to your point, I don't feel like you can get 2 quarterbacks ready. As I just pointed out, they ain't got 1 quarterback ready before. So how are you gonna?
Joe Flacco was ready.
Now, in fairness, Mike's question was, can you develop 2 quarterbacks? That's a very vague term. Like, what does that mean? Well, there's enough time to get 2 quarterbacks improved.
But
is there enough time to get 2 quarterbacks ready to start? Probably not.
And if they would,
that's a big difference.
And if they would stop playing games, you would be able to do what Tyvus is saying. All of this make you earn it, humble you down,
shouldn't everybody earn their job?
Here's the thing.
No.
That's not how it works in America. We all know that.
Fair.
They are like we know that ain't what it is.
That's true.
So my thing is, if you want to find out who's the best guy, here's what I'm gonna do. Hey, if you so good, veteran, beat them out. Everybody's gonna get these first team reps. I want to see the maximum amount. One day you're gonna get these reps. The next day you're gonna get these reps. And this silly argument, like, oh, Shedeur Sanders, I'm gonna tell you what. He doesn't know how to call the plays in the huddle well enough to even get guys lined up.
I told you what you do.
Let me debunk this.
Slap that wristband on.
Tyvus, them same little reps that they run in with the ones. Guess what? Them is the same plays that they calling in the huddle over there with the 3s and the 4s. They're not running scout team reps.
That's a fact.
They're running the same exact plays with the same verbiage, the same formations, and all of the good stuff. So No, if you put Shedeur Sanders with the first team, he's not playing against Bears and Lions. He's not going to get devoured or eaten. They can't hit a quarterback. You know what you will see, though? An evaluation to how you play with top-notch talent to see if the speed of the game is too fast or too slow.
And if he's truly not prepared to play, let's say that's true.
It'll show.
Well, then it'll show
Immediately.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
then
We would know
yeah.
immediately.
So now, I don't buy that Kevin Stefanski has, and I don't know if anybody's saying this, but I don't buy that he has some agenda to screw Shedeur Sanders.
I didn't say that.
But it is confusing. I'd love to know, like, Kevin Stefanski has been asked, why isn't he done with the ones? And he just keeps saying, it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal.
Sure it is.
I wish he would just answer. Give us a reason. What is the reason? There's got to be a reason.
Well, you know that's not their style. But my thing with Kevin is this. And the reason why I think all of us is so on edge with this conversation is because we literally just watched DTR, what happened with DTR.
Facts.
The fact that this man came out and said, I didn't know I was playing until the day before the game. Like, what? How do you put this? And this ain't the preseason. This ain't practice. We're talking about an actual game that matters.
The Baltimore Ravens.
What are you talking about? You didn't know I was the starting quarterback. And I think he said it twice. Like, I think it was twice that this happened.
I think it was 2 different years.
Yeah, what are we? So when you get things like that with a young quarterback and you just throwing them in the fire like that, I just kind of question you a little bit. That's messed up.
Or when Jameis Winston, he goes like Jameis Winston
becomes the starter.
He taps him on the shoulders like, okay, I came here because you was gonna call the plays, right? Then when he taps him on the shoulder, he says, "Oh, you're going to start." But by the way, Dorsey's calling plays. He said, "When did you? I thought you was. What? It's confusing.
Think about it. Last year, how did they start? First press conference. Well, let's get it out the way. I'm going to be calling the plays this year.
Yeah.
So it was like now all of a sudden Deshaun go down. Now I don't want nothing to do with it. I ain't gonna say nothing to do with it, but I ain't calling the plays.
There's a lot of questionable things. We've talked about Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry's job status. And there's a lot of people who think there's no chance they're getting fired this year, which seems crazy to me. Listen, if this season's a disaster and you are going to draft a quarterback in the first round next year, Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski should not be making that pick.
I don't want to make it. I don't want to make it a pick because my thing is, when you're in the NFL, I look at the truly great coaches, right? And you look at. All right, let's just compare Shanahan and Stefanski. Shanahan then had how many quarterbacks? Thousands of them, right? Mm-hmm. This man had Garoppolo, and Jimmy G was cool, but they went to a Super Bowl with him. Then, guess what? They went and got Brock Purdy. He made him good.
Yeah.
He was able to make a decision, which I give him credit for because of his talent evaluation. They gave up King's ransom to go get Trey Lance.
Yeah, and they screwed up. They knew it.
And he said, you know what? He ain't no good.
Yeah.
Let me get the 6th round pick, and we're going to have to get rid of 7. That's and to have the stones to even do that is wild to me.
Yeah.
McVay, you know what he done? McVay said, "Oh, listen, I had golf. Let me go ahead and get it. Let me go get it. What's today?"
Now some quarterbacks, it don't matter, right? Like Zach Taylor's not a very good coach. He's at best average at best. Joe Burrow is going to be good wherever, pretty much wherever he went.
Yeah.
And he's got good talent around him, whatever. But there's not a lot of quarterbacks it's only that level of quarterback. The Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, whatever. Now, those guys all have good coaches. I don't know. You could question whether the Bills, what's his name?
Sean McDermott.
I don't know. How good a coach is he?
He's a defensive guy, so
I don't know
really ain't got too much to do with it anyway.
I would say with Lamar, it's a little different. The coach matters more because his style is, you got to have a coach, because there's some coaches.
It mattered early. I don't know if it matters now with Lamar.
No, it wouldn't matter now only because whatever coach you brought into Baltimore wouldn't be stupid enough to run a system that doesn't fit Lamar. But when Lamar was young, as you know, there are coaches that would try to fit a square peg in a round hole. You could have screwed him up early in his career.
They benched Joe Flacco for Lamar.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
Was Joe playing the first bad?
He was playing like
Flacco.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you remember though, early in that year, they were playing like Lamar was playing a little bit, Like they would run him in
Package,
there
yeah.
like some packages. He wasn't not playing at all, but
That was 2018, his last year in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were his
They were
numbers
4
then?
and 5. He had 12 touchdowns, 6 picks.
Yeah.
Hey, for you to have look, here's the way I look at it with the Browns.
Yeah.
And we talk about the infrastructure and everything. To me, for the Browns to get good and for them to actually win football games, they're gonna have to pull a Joe Burrow. And what I mean pull a Joe Burrow is the Bengals traditionally have been a bad team or trying to spin their wheels, and they got Joe Burrow. He was good and fixed it. The Browns are gonna have to just luck into the quarterback. And if they luck into the quarterback can cover up all the other stuff.
That's right.
But if they're looking at it like we're going to develop and we're going to be guys that are going to draft, develop, and be masterminds and tacticians, that ain't going to work. They're not talented enough to do that as a group.
I agree with you. I think there's no reason to have faith in that right now. Now, maybe they turn that reputation around this year. I don't know. We seem to be, the three of us seem to be in the minority because everybody else seems convinced that Kevin Stefanski's a genius, and I don't think he's a bad coach.
No. Wait a
but,
minute.
Okay.
I think Kevin understands what his offense can do. I think he does a great job of sometimes calling plays. I know people are very questionable about, like, especially a couple years ago, it was some questionable things. But I understood his thought process behind it and why he was able to take some of those risks.
Yeah.
I never said he was a bad play caller. The quarterback guru thing is what I question because there's just too many things that. Yes, I get the Jacoby Brissetts, I get the PJ Walkers, I get those too. But you're not about to sit there and tell me that you just some of the stuff that's been going on for the past 3 years ain't been just like, whoa.
And I don't want to hear PJ Walker. He was terrible.
He was horrible.
Come on.
He won games. He won games.
And my thing is, I'm a straight up dude. Hey, I don't want no smoke and mirrors, bro. I would respect you.
If you just say like
respect you if you just say, hey, why Shedeur Sanders ain't getting no reps? Well, right now, he need to get in that playbook.
Yeah.
He's a rookie. What is he going to do, melt? He's a rookie. Rookies get talked about all the time on the defensive side of the ball.
At the same breath, that he probably did say that too. He just don't say it to him in the media. And you can't. Kevin been like that the whole entire time.
I get
like
that.
they have the conversation. He's just not gonna throw you under the bus in the media.
But I get that. But Kevin also
only person he ever did that to was Deshaun with the injury thing.
Or the time that Kevin Stefanski. This has been widely reported. Kevin Stefanski refused to call Deshaun Watson out in team meetings on the film, and when he was doing stuff wrong, and everybody else was getting dragged on the carpet.
That was bad.
At the end of the day, you got to keep it 1,000. If you came out here and said, "Listen," because by the way, the reps thing, that's cool. I want to see. I'm gonna give him some grace. I'm gonna see how this works when we come time to get the pass.
That's what I want to know.
We all want Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry to pan out.
Yes.
It's better for the organization to stay with guys that are here.
Yes.
We want them to, for the light to come on. It takes time sometimes. It's not great when you fire coaches every couple of years. So the perfect scenario is that it works this year. They improve. We see reason to keep these guys on, and it all comes together. But eventually you got to cut ties if that doesn't happen.
I mean, I want them to admit mistakes. I think that's the biggest thing. They be so tied into well, the analytics said that this, and that. So we
love our wide receiver
We're going to trust our process. Like, no, it's not working. So you need to avert and fix it. And it's been so many times that they've kept people on rosters that they shouldn't have. They've made some terrible decisions with some of the people that they drafted. Like, it's those things. Just admit that you was wrong.
They never do.
And they don't do that.
G, how old are you now? 45?
43.
I aged you a couple of years. So you're 43. Yeah. So you're 11 years younger than me. So I'm going to assume you remember football starting 88, 89, 90,
Man,
something like that?
I was probably about my earliest was probably 88, 87. I don't remember the Sype era.
Okay.
Put it to you like that.
So starting Bernie.
Yeah.
How many times have you ever said what the Browns have said a lot recently? I love that Browns wide receiver room.
Never.
Not even in the Bernie days. There wasn't. You liked it maybe, but didn't love it.
There was one time where they had Corey Coleman.
Yeah.
They had Terrell Pryor, and then they had Josh Gordon.
You like that, bro?
You like that. Didn't pan out.
But
Josh
I saw
Gordon.
what Josh Gordon was. Terrell Pryor that year did
had
have 1,000 yards.
Which is hard to believe.
And we were like, Corey Coleman was a first-round pick.
Yeah,
so it was like kind of like, okay, we can kind of imagine it.
What about the year with Derek Anderson?
Braylon
And
Edwards.
Braylon
And Kellen Winslow.
Kellen Winslow.
I like
if
that.
we include the tight end.
Who was the other receiver?
It
wasn't Joe Jurevicius.
Yes, it was. Joe Jurevicius
Good
was on
job
that
out of
roster. Yeah, that's a great pull
No,
by
I paid
you.
attention.
But there's but like,
remember,
there really hasn't ever been a season where going into the season like,
well,
I love
yes,
this.
it was.
The Tim
Yes,
Couch
it was.
The Tim Couch year, where they was running a teacup formation. They had Andre Davis, the receiver.
Yeah.
They had Kevin Johnson.
Quincy Morgan.
They had Quincy Morgan.
Was Dennis Northcutt there?
Then Dennis Northcutt. They had the four. They was going with the four wide receivers.
It's been 1 year that I went into the season and said that wide receiver room is
Beckham
great.
and Landry.
Beckham
Oh
and
yeah,
Landry.
That's
That's
forgot
the
about
only
that. Hey,
time I ever said
And by the
that.
way,
But did they have anything beyond that? Anything any good?
No.
no. And by the way, they both
Who
had
was-
1,000.
Wait a
That was
minute.
wild.
No, because who was Coop's other guy?
No,
Nobody.
No one since Elijah Moore. Like,
Dang,
no.
Coop
Donovan
never.
Peoples-Jones.
That's who. Yeah, I guess
my
that is who it
God.
was.
By the way, one last thing I want to say on this topic.
And then I want to ask you guys one question, then we'll move on to
Go
Guardians.
ahead. You ask your question. First.
So, Tyvis mentioned the Drake May, Joe Milton situation last year, which is a very different situation considering Drake May was the third overall pick in the draft
Very
versus
different,
a late rounder. I have to assume, and I'm assuming here, I don't know for a fact, that when camp broke for the Patriots last year, 98% of the attention was on Drake May and 2%, if that, was on the Joe Milton development side
Probably
of
fair.
things.
That's
if
fair.
not even more.
Yeah.
With the Browns, it could be 50-50, it could be 60-40, it could be who knows how it'll be. But do you think if a young quarterback, whether it's Dillon or Shedeur, isn't getting 90% of that developmental attention, can they develop into a guy they can actually evaluate, or do they need that level of attention from the coaching staff to figure out, hey, we either have a guy or we don't?
Like I said, the only way you're going to be able to know, you can sit there all day long and he can, off the field, he can tell you where to go with the ball. He can tell you what the defense
Facts.
is in. He can tell you what the receiver, the lineman, he can tell you the protection, all of that. He can tell you everything. He can know the playbook like the back of his hand. Until he get out there and put them pads on and throw that thing against the ones, it doesn't matter to me because I don't know.
But ultimately,
It's so many smart guys, but
Yeah.
it's a difference between a guy that's smart and a guy that's a football player.
Yeah.
Like, I want the football player.
but Tyvis, ultimately, the better the player, the more he can develop himself, right? I mean,
Bull.
to some degree. I'm not
I
saying
hear what you're saying.
I'm not saying get to the final step.
If I ain't taking
I
no
got you.
reps, I don't know. I can
I get
dominate
you.
the
No, I
threes
get
and
you.
the twos
Yeah.
all day long.
Yeah.
But if I get with the ones, I might be just an average guy.
So let me. So I'm gonna just ask. I'm gonna ask a very fair question. You guys can answer it in the chat, and you. I wanna hear from everybody up here. What is the worst thing that can happen if they come back in the first day, back from whenever they come to training camp, and they say, Shedeur, you're going to get reps with the ones just like Dillon Gabriel, just like.
Yeah, there's nothing
What,
bad.
what's the worst can happen from that?
I mean, he looks like crap.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the worst that can happen?
So what?
He looks like crap.
Okay,
And-
what's the worst that can happen, McNuggets?
I guess he looks bad.
There you go. That's it. So
That's
what?
it. So all of the gymnastics, anytime you hear that, just ask the people that think it's the biggest step in history. What's the worst that can happen? He looks bad, and then he doesn't get that many reps moving forward
it.
because he looked bad.
Yeah.
It's football.
Yeah. If the guys can't handle that, then they're not going to make it anyway.
Right.
One last thing I wanted to say, because it got brought up again yesterday. I guess it was Jay, because I know G wouldn't bring this up. Maybe
This
Mike
is crazy. This is why I want to see what this is.
Well, somebody, when we were talking about Kenny Pickett, and we haven't talked about Kenny Pickett
Yeah,
here at all,
yeah.
and somebody said that, now it's widely known that Matt Canada is the worst offensive coordinator, blah, blah, blah.
Jay said that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was Jay.
Yeah.
And I've heard multiple people say this now.
Yeah.
And I get it. Matt Canada's not a very good offensive coordinator.
That's fair.
Are we trying to argue that going to the Steelers is worse for development than going to the Browns?
Facts.
I
That's
mean,
crazy.
what are we talking about here? So, like, the people that are trying to promote, and I don't really think Jay's one of the people, but I know Aditi is, and some of the people that really like Kenny Pickett are trying to promote him as if he got wronged by the Steelers because that was a terrible situation. And I'm not going to argue that Matt Canada's a bad OC. He is. Mm-hmm. But he still was with a great organization and had at least solid talent around him.
Solid. They had a really good
on offense, specifically on offense.
They had a great supporting cast.
I don't know about great. I think great's a little
It was
strong,
a better situation.
It was better than the Browns.
Got.
And, like, who's the coach? What? Listen, I know, again, and this goes back to our conversation about Kevin Stefanski. And I've been a supporter of Stefanski. I think he's a pretty good coach. But, like, this idea that he's some offensive genius is patently absurd. At least he hasn't proven it in any way to this point. And so the idea that, well, the Steelers couldn't get the best out of Kenny Pickett, but or the Eagles, although that's not really fair because he didn't really play there. But the Cleveland Browns are going to get the best out of Kenny Pickett. We haven't seen the best yet. I mean, I find that a little hard to believe.
Has Kevin's offense ever finished top 10?
I don't think so.
Maybe that first year.
See, that's amazing.
2020?
Well, you can't call him an offensive guru if he.
This is beautiful. This is what. Hey, Mike.
Am I wrong for saying that though?
No.
Is this a spell or something? This is the stuff I've been on here solo talking about for 3 years. Like, 3 entire years. I'm like, I just don't see it.
I wouldn't say that. See, that's not. I'm not saying he's not a good player.
No.
I'm not saying he's not a good OC.
I'm not saying he's
I'm not
trash.
saying that, but I'm just saying you ain't going.
What metrics you want to look at real quick? Scoring offense, yards.
Nah, forget yards. That yards.
Yeah, not yards, just scoring.
I mean,
scoring.
we really need analytics breakdown, but let's go with scoring. It's better than yards.
All right. In 2020, the Browns finished 13th.
Okay.
21, the Browns finished 20th.
Yep.
Okay.
And I can assure you, since this show
Really?
started, they have not been a top 10 offense.
No,
so
definitely not. So 13th was their best.
13th was their best.
Oh, well, I want to see the rest of them now.
Yeah, give us
Go
the
ahead.
rest.
Go ahead.
2020.
Yeah,
22 was 17th.
Yeah.
23 was where's Cleveland?
If you just went to their Pro Football Reference page, you could see it right next to each other by year.
Cleveland was 12th in 23.
Okay, 12.
Okay, 12.
So that's the high, right? 12. So
Yeah.
12.
24. 32nd. That was this year.
Yeah.
Dead last this year.
All right, so they two years that were, 12th and 13th is solid.
That's solid.
So they had 2 out of 5, right? 21. Yeah. 2 solid years offensively.
You said the
and 3
first year he was 13th?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the COVID year when they went to the playoffs and beat the Steelers.
I throw an asterisk by that.
Just
Everything in the COVID year is an asterisk in every sport in my mind.
I think, man, I was laughing at it.
Yeah.
I said, man, like, I know that we wouldn't look strong at stuff, but people be acting like the play action is like, that's like saying, man,
Yeah.
we going to run this flea flicker, Tybus. That is one play.
I was going to text Anthony to say
But
that we stupidly did not get ourselves water, so if he could throw us some water.
Yeah. Matter of fact,
Like my face is swelling
I'm
up
parched.
from.
I'll do an ad read
I
and I'll
screwed
bring
it
us
up,
waters.
and I forgot to get them. Before the show.
But
Go
let me close this by saying
Yeah.
I don't think Kevin is a bad coach, though. I
don't think he's a bad coach
I still
either.
think he is a good head coach.
But
I just think that him and AB, I just think because of the fact that this is their first time GM and first time head coach, there's gonna be mistakes, and as long as they learn from the mistakes, I don't have a problem with it. Like, there's no way this upcoming season, if Shedeur or Dillon Gabriel starts a game, it can't be we didn't know we wasn't playing until the day before. Like that don't make no sense to me.
Inexcusable. That's
I
inexcusable.
feel like stone
Thank
cold.
you, Anthony.
Appreciate
Give me a
you.
beer.
All right, let's move on to